with the Clippers being bounced from the playoffs after being up 3-1, do they make wholesale changes or stay put? We're live tonight here on Fast Break, here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all sports. And join us as you shout tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in tonight here on a Sunday night. Lots to talk about here tonight on the basketball spectrum of things. Lots of things to talk about here. The Clippers going down, losing 4-3 to the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets advancing to the Western Conference Finals, down 1-0 against the Lakers, in which at the end of this first quarter, the Lakers are up 29-21. D-Lock, how you doing tonight, sir? I know you want to talk about the Clippers tonight.
Oh, yeah. I know this is a little off, but just to let y'all guys know, my Bucks did win, so I am on a very high right now. I feel really, really good about that. We definitely needed that victory. Also, congratulations to your Titans. That was a must win for you guys. Guys with the 2-0 making moves. I know that's football, but I wanted to get that out of the way because that is making me feel really, really good right now. But yeah, the Clippers. Oh my goodness, I have so much to talk about with that. I ain't gonna lie, that's probably gonna take up most of it. I hope you guys up in the group chat or in the chat start asking more questions about this Nuggets and Clippers matchup because so much has happened leading into that matchup, that series, that changed a lot of things. So we're going to touch on so much of that because that is like the shocker of 2020 outside of the pandemic. The fact that they didn't make it and they let a team come back 3-1 from a 3-1 deficit. So much to cover, man.
And since we own the Clippers right now and they're I can't say historic collapse because the Clippers don't have a lot of history to go on. But do you credit the Nuggets coming back 3-1 again and beating this talented team, or do you think it's more the Clippers them dropping the ball on this? Which way do you side on that?
So I would say dropping the ball was something that I would give credit to the first game. Dropping the ball 3 times in a row is not acceptable. I mean, honestly. To be honest, this was a very great matchup for the Nuggets, if you really think about it. I mean, you got Zubac, who's not a big-time center like that, and you got Trez coming off the bench. Jokic was definitely going to eat in this series, like point blank. So with that being said, all you had to do now is make sure that you get him involved. And what happened was he dominated when the time was needed. And once he dominated, that gets Jamal Murray cooking. So for me, I can't really say that it's more so the Clippers. I would say that more so it was the Nuggets. I mean, they knew what they wanted to do, and they came out firing. They played very well through the 3 games. To drop the ball one time, I remember Paul George saying in a press post conference after the first game, he said we were supposed to close them out. We did it. We'll make sure we get it done the very next time. That did not happen. So for me, that tells me that this team, even though they had they were in prime position to close this out, they didn't do it. But it wasn't just them. It was more so of the Nuggets. I mean, Paul Millsap was very consistent. He played very well. Jamal Murray was being Jamal Murray. Gary Harris came back. It looked like this is probably the healthiest series that he's had. This is probably the healthiest he was all year long. He came out. He played terrific. Who else? These guys came out here and played. Jeremy Grant, kind of played very well. But even with that being said, what did help them is the missed shots that as they call him, George Paul did, Paul George, he disappeared. Now, the last game, you can see about maybe it was maybe 5 to 7 minutes left in the third quarter, going into the fourth. You can see that Kawhi was missing shots. Lou Williams couldn't get connected. Paul George was kind of off. Zubac wasn't even in the game that much. I knew this game was over when the Nuggets were up by 10 or 12, and Jokic was on the bench in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
They didn't even bring him in yet.
Yeah.
So they were resting him. So when you see that, I'm like, well, even if the Clippers are going to run, they're going on a run without Jokic on the court. They're not even going on a run with Jokic on the court. So right now, to me, I'm looking like, well, as soon as Jokic get back on, even if they chop this 10 to 15 point down, this 10 to 15 lead down, Joker's going to come in and extend that lead with Jamal Murray. So to me, I give it to the Nuggets, man. Kudos to them. They played very good. Now, they were very resilient. They came out and knew that they were down 3-1. You heard the coach, Moses Malone, I believe, Coach Malone say that, I know a lot of people are looking forward to the Clippers and the Lakers series, and we're trying to, affect that or, hurt that or change that. And they came out and they played, man. I mean, not only on offense, they put the points up, but on defense. Jamal Murray had a hell of a game, hell of a series. When they needed shots to be made, he made them. And they played great defense, man, to be honest. And the reason why I say it was better, I would say it was great or good, is because you would see a lot of contested shots that Kawhi was shooting. I'm pretty sure you've seen that game 7, where you were seeing Kawhi, every shot that he was missing, most of them, he was throwing his hands up, complaining to the ref, trying to get a foul. So that tells you that their defense was playing very good. They were all on it. They were containing him. I seen the corner three-pointer that Paul George shot, trying to get back into the game and hit the backboard before he hit the rim. So they played well, man. I mean, kudos to them. They earned it.
I definitely agree with you there. It's like, I get you probably in the same thought process as I'm about to go with this talking point here. When the Clippers season ended last year against the Warriors, took that team to 6 games. You figure like, okay, you got a nice little squad here, scrappy and stuff like that. I mean, they gonna take you to the championship or anything like that. But if you add like a superstar or two on there, you maybe can do some things, because you got the role players there. And Pat Beverly, Lou Williams, your 6th man. Montrezl is your other 6th man. Zubac, who's pretty serviceable. And then guys like, Jermichael Green, Patrick Patterson, a young guard like Landry Shamet. You eventually brought Reggie Jackson in. You drop a couple guys in there, and then maybe you could do some things. Well, those guys wound up being Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. And they said, okay, we got a squad here. We got a squad. And you see what the Lakers did to counteract and stuff like that, getting Anthony Davis and the other pieces around them, like Avery Bradley and so forth, Dwight Howard. And, the matchups the Clippers have with the Lakers, they beat the brakes off them. Am I lying? They beat the brakes off them.
Correct.
And you figure, okay, Kawhi low management. Paul George did get hurt. Okay, then you get to March, things shut down. And then you got another 3 months to rest and stuff like that. And then get to here at this point against the Nuggets. And D-Log, not only did the Nuggets came back, but they beat them by double digits in that game 7. That's the one thing right there. They beat them by double digits. And I was saying to myself, and you brought a good point. I tweeted from the Facts Break account on Twitter. If y'all not follow us there, please do. I was tweeting like, for Mike Malone to be on the safe side, you gotta bring Jokic back in, just kind of seal the deal and, put this game on ice when they eventually made a comeback. But they didn't. But it's like, damn, they didn't need Jokic to play a full game to handle y'all. And I just wondered, like, what happened to this Clipper team? It's like they're talking stuff on Damian Lillard. Everybody automatically assume, everybody trying to pump up LA Clippers as the next big thing to run the town in the city. Terry Rodriguez in the chat, he could probably attest to that. He lives in Newport Beach, I believe. He probably tell you that LA's a damn Laker town. And the way they dropped the ball on this will forever be no doubt that LA will be a purple and gold until the cockroaches take over. But I'm shocked. I like I said, I was shocked. I was like, I don't know where this Clipper team goes. Where do you see them going?
Well, my thing is, I mean, it is shocking, but it just, I guess they were full of themselves being the fact that they had so many pieces. So it was kind of a build to where, they were expecting to win a championship. They were doing, or be competing for a championship. The competition or everybody was talking about Clippers and Lakers in the final and X, Y, and Z, and that didn't happen that way. With this team, we do know that Montrezl Harrell is a free agent. I think the Morris twin is a free agent as well. So, dude, to be honest, and I know we talked about this not months, but probably weeks ago. We were talking about what, the 76ers were going to do with Joel Embiid. I think we kind of agreed. I said they were going to trade him. You said they think that he's going to stay there. But, dude, if I'm the Clippers, I'm trying to find a way to get another big man. Because this matchup was a perfect matchup for the Nuggets. Like, either way, this was a perfect matchup for the Nuggets. Like, your best player on your team is the opponent's weakness. Right? So everything, dude was averaging like a triple-double.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I wouldn't do any extravagant changes yet. I think the fact that they were kind of full of themselves for a minute does play a part. But I ain't gonna lie, I probably would look to make some key changes, like as far as the chemistry, trying to get the chemistry that they were trying to get. You can see that they were trying to get chemistry later in the playoffs rather than through the season. Kawhi was taking off games over and over. It's kind of like they were taking the season for granted. And when that happened, see us as fans, we just see the game and we just see what happened. And it's like, oh, okay, this happened, that happened, this person's balling. But they have to put in chemistry, because when it comes to game speed in any sport, you can see the difference, or they can tell the difference. So, these different plays that they're drawing up, these different things, Lou Williams wasn't who Lou Williams usually is known for. Trez didn't really get back to being Trez. He didn't get a chance to be that person. And when those two key players that were there before Kawhi got there, Paul George, it kind of hurt the team, to be honest. That second unit probably hurt big time. We didn't see too much from Zubac, but Zubac is going to be Zubac. It seemed like they didn't know what rotation they were going to fit because they had so many players. So that's my biggest deal, is they have to figure that out. And once you figure that part out, okay, now you kind of can push for that Western Conference final. But dude, you can tell they were all over the place. They were up 20 plus on, I think, 2 of these games, and they still lost.
Yeah, I agree. And I go back to like the rest thing. It's like, okay, you rested up, should make it like a strong push towards these finals, potential finals, at least a matchup to the Lakers, which, back in their mind, they had confidence in that, hey, damn, we can beat this team if we just get there. And they eventually get there and, get matched up against the Nuggets, and you had them down. But credit to the Nuggets, It's, especially, the rise of Jamal Murray, they came back and won. And you mentioned Lou Williams. Lou Williams hasn't really been right since he entered this bubble. Like we mentioned, we talk about, we had the ha about the Magic City thing, but I don't know, it didn't feel like, he really contributed to this team's success down in his bubbles.
No, he was just there. It seemed like he was just there. It seemed like he was just getting his minutes in. The whole bubble, the whole, lemon pepper wing thing that we joked about, even though it was joked to a lot of us, it affected them deeply.
No, and and then you had the Morris twin issue, him playing dirty, and then he shows every once in a blue moon, but it's not consistent enough. And then you look at the stat lines, like, okay, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard have decent games, but everybody else is like, where y'all at? Even Montrez, he didn't have a strong game in that game 7 either. I was like, something going on this team. It's like, are y'all tapped out? I mean, I know we know Paul George came out with his issues being in the bubble. We seem like, we talk about the picture. We've seen James Harden at the turkey leg in Houston having a good old time. He seems like he's not worried at all about being at the bubble. These guys like checked out.
That's what it seems like. And it's kind of like they weren't taking it serious. And this is why, and we'll talk about it, I'm pretty sure later, talk about the MVP voting and what we thought about that. This is why LeBron is who he is. And him being the player that he is on any team is going to make a huge impact. Because we didn't hear this stuff about the Lakers. We really didn't. I mean, the biggest thing we heard about the Lakers during the bubble is what? The fact that Rondo was hurt. So we didn't hear too much. And now look at Rondo. Rondo is being playoff Rondo right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to, this is the difference. I mean, they always compare, or everybody was talking about how, LeBron they're telling Kawhi is one of the better players, which he is. But the leadership aspect, I don't think it's no comparison to what LeBron has done, because LeBron has made a bigger impact with the Lakers than Kawhi has done with the Clippers, if we're being real. And the fact is, a lot of these guys and all these different teams, they weren't taking this serious. They were ready to go. We talked about on the show a couple of episodes ago. I was explaining, hey, I was a track athlete to where, we would travel in Europe for these times, and I would stay over here for a full month. I wouldn't really be seeing anybody or anything like that. Let me tell you, at some point, I'll say this. If you don't take it serious while you're overseas, if you just like, I'm ready to go home, you're going to lose your next race. You're going to be checked out. If you're ready to go home already, you're already thinking about going back to the house, even if it's 3 weeks until you're playing back. So I'm saying it to say a lot of these guys that already were shown in these different clubs or doing anything, talking about these vacations and blah, 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 all these other spots, they're at home, and they even though they're at home now, but they've been ready to go home a month ago. So they're not taking it too serious. And when you don't do that, you get the first ticket out.
I definitely agree. And to correct myself, Trez did have a decent game on game 7, but probably like a game too late. He did have 20 points, 3 rebounds in that. Kawhi Leonard had 14 points in that closing game. He didn't shoot the ball very well, and especially in that fourth quarter. Him and Paul George, he finished with 10 points. If you're Steve Ballmer, D-Lock, you put all these pieces together, you thinking like, okay, we might have a chance to win the championship this year. The Bucks went out very quickly against the Heat. The Lakers, you got confidence you can beat them when you get to the Western Conference Finals. What do you think does he like says to these guys, hey, one more year, then we break it all up? Does he get in the ear of Doc Rivers and Jerry West and crew saying like, hey, we got to do something? Because if you remember, ladies and gentlemen, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard can opt out of their contracts after next season.
Yeah.
They didn't sign for no long-term deals. So let's keep that in mind as well. Where do you see, the Clippers going? What do they do in the offseason? Do they do anything at all? Do they make some changes here and there? What you think?
I mean, I find it. Let me think, because I don't see them making any changes right now. The only change I possibly can see them making is getting rid of Doc Rivers, but I don't see that. The biggest thing to me is the fact that they need a center. Because even if they would have made it to the damn Lakers, they would have got Dwight Howard would have had a field day against these centers and Anthony Davis. So they need a center. I'm not sure if they bring Trez back.
Will be too much money?
Also, go ahead.
You think it'd be too much money to bring Trez back, or?
I don't think it's too much money to bring him back. I just think that they see where they struggled this year. Teams start to do this. Teams start to do this evaluation of what happened and why, how they can change it. I think that they look and see that their struggle was centers. That's where they struggled at. So I think they try to fix that because everything else is pretty solid. That and the fact that, okay, well, listen, that whole we're going to take 2 days, take a day off or back to back, it's not going to work. So for me, I really think that they grab maybe another big man in the off season, some kind of way, a more athletic, because not necessarily a Joel Embiid, but there's somebody that can make a bigger impact than the guys they have. Because even though you do have the sixth man of the year in Trez, he's not doing anything to Jokic. So he's not doing anything to the bigger centers. Zubac is really just there to fill that fifth spot on the court, it seems like. So to me, I think that's the bigger thing that is coming to my mind. And they address that. I don't know if Reggie Jackson, is he still under contract?
No, I think he's a free agent after the year.
Yeah, so I think he's probably going to be gone. They have Shamet. Morris probably may leave just because of the fact they signed him, to get ready for the Lakers. It's clear that this team was built to play against the Lakers, and it didn't happen. So now I think they look at it to where they're building just to play against anybody. And you do have your two key players in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So now you just have to make sure that the other pieces, that you have those other pieces. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't make any changes right now.
I'm in the same boat as you. The only change that I could see is maybe Doc Rivers, maybe getting let go. But I bet if you let him go, I mean, I don't know who you go after, to be honest with you. I mean, I highly doubt D'Antoni will get you over that hump. Billy Donovan, I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah.
If Phil Jackson was maybe 5 years younger, maybe you can coax him out and throw enough money at him, maybe. But I don't know. I guess you run the same team back, but maybe see what you get for Lou Williams, because maybe you get some nice young piece back, and then the thing that before we move on, the thing that really sucks about the Clippers, they mortgage their future for two guys that may only stay for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's the tough pill to swallow. And I think something may come down to, I don't say nothing major, but they may try to do something to make a change of scenery there in Clipperland.
Well, the thing is, even if you let go of Doc Rivers, this team was built for him. I mean, he had something to do with it.
Yeah.
So why would you get rid of a person that wants to build this team or want this team? Because if you hire somebody else, now you're looking at a totally different. It's with any sport. When you hire a new coach, what happens? They want to bring in their guys. Whether it's the coaches, whether it's the players, whether it's the recruiters, whatever. That is what they want. So to let go of Doc Rivers would be going backwards. Because does this person say, well, hell, I'm the new coach here. I really don't trust Paul George, so I'll ship him away. Now you're bringing more, you're adding fuel to the fire. Actually, yeah, you're making the fire bigger and you're causing more problems. Because now a new coach is going to say, well, okay, I look at this roster. How do I like it? What adjustment do I want to make? That's simple. So I don't think they move him. I just, like I said, we're on the same page with the fact that I think they do try to get another. I think they try to get another center, but yeah, I mean, can you really just think about the fact that they did make all them trades? I mean, they traded all those picks for Paul George, and this happens.
Mm-hmm. And Taryn, bringing up the point, D-Lock, and I want to ask you this: which team had I don't know, I guess, more disappointing, the Bucks or the Clippers? It's tough. I was thinking about it too. I was like, damn, that's tough.
I think that's a hands down for me. Clippers. There's no way it's not. The expectations were there, so I have to say the Clippers. It's like they were talking about this matchup between the Lakers and the Clippers like it was for sure going to happen. So for me, it is no doubt the Clippers. So it like the game, the series of the Nuggets was supposed, and then on top of that, they were up 3-1. Like, that's the most disappointing thing, being the fact that you have two All-Stars on your team, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So with the sixth man of the year and the former sixth man of the year on the same team. So to me, it's without a doubt, it's the Clippers. You can't. There's no way you can question that for me. Especially with Kawhi coming off the year that he just had the year before this. Yeah, it's definitely the Clippers.
I don't know. For me, I don't know, man. It's tough. I mean, you go make arguments both sides. The Clippers have been, up 3-1 and not closing the deal on a young team, really. A very young, not very young, but a very young team that I think they're going to slowly figure it out. I think they're going to figure it out hopefully by next year. And then you go on the other side of the Bucks. It's like, in that series, Giannis was playing very well before the injury, but everybody else, I don't know, kind of like sticking up the joint. But
yeah,
if I had to choose one, I go with the Bucks because I did not see Miami Heat coming out the way they did. You figured like in the beginning of the season, this Heat team, okay, you added Jimmy Butler, you expected Bam Adebayo to take a leap, and at least you get to the conference semis, or the next round past first, but I didn't expect them to beat the brakes out the Bucks like they did. And
Well, yeah, that's true. I guess that's what we were we different because I had a feeling looking at the Heat over the season that they had bodies for Giannis.
yep. And I was like, damn. I was like, God, y'all really took it to this team. And I guess this like segue to our next segment. The Heat up 2-1 against the Celtics. You said like the Heat in 5. Am I correct?
I believe it was either 5 or 6.
Well, I give credit to the Celtics watching that game. They didn't try and settle for jumpers. They drove to the basket. Jaylen Brown had an excellent game. The passing, cutting. The rookie from Tennessee for Boston. I forgot his name at the top of my head, but he played out the bench pretty well. And they played pretty tough against this Heat team. I mean, this Heat team trying to make their comeback, but credit to the Celtics and Brad Stevens kind of readjusting their strategy. I was like, okay, we can't get in a jump shooting contest for this team, but if you take Bam away from the basket and try to make him defend the paint, you can, and try to make him play weak side, I think you can get some things going. What's your thoughts on this series so far, 3 games in?
For me, I'm slowly growing into a bigger Heat fan because the fact is I like how they have their roster built. Pat Riley seems like a genius right now, not just for at the moment, but for years to come. This team is very deep and they're young. There's really not anything that the Heat do not have, to be honest. The Celtics, they also are kind of, a very pretty much a good built team. But I just feel like the Heat have the better rotation with the bench. Now, we did see Gordon Hayward come back. In fact, I did see earlier that he's not even going back to see his newborn baby this week because, he just now getting back, obviously, we're talking about Eastern Conference Finals. But they have a solid, pretty much a decent rotation with Brandon Wanamaker as well. Robert Williams has been playing pretty good as well. I just feel like the Heat have the guys where if they really want to cook, they can on and off the bench. Kendrick Nunn is getting a little bit more run than he's been getting in the playoffs before this. So you can start to see him, do a little bit of things, get in there, giving Dragic a break. But also they still have a leader in Iguodala off the bench. So this series has been going pretty well. I think we did see the game, 2 games ago when Bam had blocked a shot from Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum got a chance to get a 3-pointer, and he actually, I think he fumbled with it for a minute and shot it up with like less than 2 seconds left, almost made it, and went back to overtime, went to double overtime.
Yeah.
I think this series has a good chance of being, pretty solid. Now, the Celtics could mess around and win this next game and tie back up. But I do think that the Heat have the bodies to, finish the series off. The thing is, they do have Jimmy Butler who can go off at any time. I mean, if you see how he plays, like it's like he kind of takes over when he wants. He's not as much. The game kind of comes to him. It doesn't come to him as much as it do for Kawhi when he's playing. Like it's noticeable, but you can tell that he plays when he wants. And when he starts to catch fire, that's going to cause a lot of issues for the Celtics. They have the defensive team for it, but I think that, Dragic was a very good steal. Him and Jimmy Butler combination is great. I think that by itself is going to do a lot of make a big difference for them. It's just right now, I do feel like tomorrow the Heat will take a 3-1 lead.
I think if Boston continues what they did in last night's game, I think they could tie it up. But it's like sometimes with Boston, it's consistency. Marcus Smart, for example, and alleged reports said they had like a big blow off in the locker room after game 2. Now, some players have come out and deny that and stuff like that, but they could. Some of the reports could obviously hear Marcus Smart, acting a fool. I don't say acting a fool, but being very loud in the locker room. Now they channel that angerment, all that anger and stuff like that, and pull off the big win in game 3. I think they do more of the same in game 4. I think they can come back. You mentioned like the bench. I think those guys, if they contribute just well enough, and as far as like Tatum, Brown, and Hayward and Kemba Walker, contributes very well, I think they can come back and sneak, and tie this series up. But for the Miami side going to game 4, Eric Spoelstra, can he find a way to kind of tighten up their defense? Because like I said, Jaylen Brown was getting, especially in that second half, he was getting what he wanted, driving down the lane and dishing off and stuff like that. That driving and kicking was kicking Miami's butt. And then, also for Miami, you can't let these other folks from Boston get 6 to 8 points off of you on easy buckets.
Yeah.
The rookie from Tennessee, I forgot. I'm trying to look up his name right now. Let's see. Grant Williams.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he was getting some run as well.
I mean, he had 5 points, He had a 3-pointer also. I mean, you can't let dudes like that, come in and get some easy buckets for me.
Yeah.
But
I mean, most of the time when it comes to this, like I said, the bench is very crucial. We haven't even seen Enes Kanter really get in like that. Mm-hmm. So it's stuff like that kind of gets me to seeing what are the Celtics actually doing, how they're trying to fit this combination. Gordon Hayward is back now, so we'll probably see a better combination for them. But I just, the Heat are just one of the better teams right now to me. I do see them making a big difference. And I actually see them going to the NBA Finals against the Lakers.
Yeah, I see it too. I think Spoelstra, he's done a very fine coaching job so far here in the bubble. I think, he'll make adjustments to kind of stifle the Celtics. I think another thing for Miami that's going to be key for them, I don't know, maybe switch out Tyler Hero for Duncan Robinson and get Hero going early. I thought about that because Hero, he was kind of hitting in the groove. I know he played 36 minutes, but maybe start him off and get some things going. And maybe let Duncan Robinson come off the bench because, commentators during the games, they've been talking about Duncan Robinson having issues and stuff like that. His psyche's kind of messed up. If that's the case, put on the bench, start Hero, and see what you can do about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's but see, the thing is, and that's why I appreciate what Pat Riley has put together. Remember, they just had Bron, maybe 6-7 years ago or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So Bron left and he rebuilt another great team or a good team. So all it takes now is just more time to see what these guys can put together, and then that chemistry will get where they want. So most of the time, like I said, I think that the Heat are not going to be good just for right now. I think this team is going to be good for a long time.
And another thing too, before we move on to the MVP and all teams, Andre Iguodala, Kendrick Nunn. I think you could probably see a more uptick in playing time, maybe more defensive effort, and see if we get out of those guys. Maybe I would Because like you mentioned, like Kendrick Nunn, he hasn't been getting a lot of playing time in this playoff bubble. Even, he's back and healthy, he still ain't got that run, and it's kind of affected his play because when he comes in, he's not himself at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's a thing to watch out for. But, ladies and gentlemen, the MVP was announced earlier this week or last week. Giannis, the Greek Freak, has won his second MVP title back to back over the likes of LeBron James, James Harden, and others. G-Lock, was it a right call that Giannis, won back to back MVPs?
Yes. Reason why is because, dude, he dominated the regular season. LeBron's my guy. If we being real, let's be real, everybody. We know that LeBron is the best player in the league. We know that. That's not a question. But stat-wise, record-wise, the cast around him, Giannis had less help than LeBron did, I would say. I think Giannis deserved the MVP for the regular season. That's no question in my mind. He did what he did, but as we can see, when it comes to the better player in the league, obviously it is LeBron, because look what LeBron is right now. Look what Giannis is. I don't think, as much as I am a fan of the Heat right now, I don't see them holding LeBron to how they did Giannis. And even if they did, the fact is LeBron has AD who can kick in and ball out if he need to, if they kind of contain LeBron a little bit. So to me, I think he did deserve it. I know as a fan, it's hard to say no and say that LeBron deserved it, but I mean, he did deserve it, man. I mean, he had a good season. His team had the best record in the regular season. I mean, how can you not give it to him?
Yeah, I'm there with you. I thought maybe LeBron got more first place votes in there, but he didn't, and he kind of voiced his displeasure in that. But I think Giannis, winning this was like, I don't think there's nobody else, because he carried that team to, potentially greater heights. And granted, we don't know how the season would have ended. Everything's had to come to a halt. But, him winning Defensive Player of the Year award, winning this, kind of, when we saw him winning Defensive Player of the Year, I think maybe it's a precursor that he may win the MVP title. If not, maybe LeBron will sneak in the back door and win that title, MVP title. But in the end, congrats to Giannis. He, in a very rare case, won back-to-back titles in this league, which is, I would say, very hard to do in this time around.
Yeah, it is. I mean, at this point, that's not something that's very easy. I don't think Steph Curry did it as well. He had a great season. I mean, if we being honest, he had a really good season. And most of the time when that happens, I know, like I said, you are fighting against the fact that when they're voting or when they're making this decision, you have a player that's out of the playoffs, and you have a player that could be a close second or first contending for the MVP. He is actually still in the playoffs. So I can't fault that. I mean, it's like I said, it's a tough decision. But I mean, like I said, I know, we all know that LeBron is the best player in the league. If I had to build a team, that's more than likely one to pick him. Now, obviously, I would question that because of his age compared to others I would pick. But LeBron is the better player in the league. He's the best player in the league, and he's going to show that. But what happens is, I think this was good for the NBA because it shows how pissed off he's going to be this series and the next series to prove that he's the better player. So to me, I don't know if you've seen this interview, but I definitely seen this interview yesterday. And dude was really, really, he's really pissed about the fact that He only got 16 votes out of 101. So, yeah, we're going to see a guy on a rampage.
Yeah, and, to go along, Giannis's MVP, he made first team All NBA, as well. So congrats to him on that. And I want to get your thoughts on this real quick. On Twitter yesterday, Doug Gottlieb, if y'all don't know who Doug Gottlieb is, he hosts a radio show on CBS Sports Network. He used to play for Oklahoma State back in the day and Notre Dame. He used to work for ESPN as well as a college basketball analyst. But he tweeted out, he retweeted somebody else's tweet that, Maria Taylor, host of NBA Countdown, they tweeted out saying, why did she have a vote? How could she leave out Anthony Davis, in which, he was clearly one of the top players in the league this year out of all NBA teams. What are your thoughts on that? People questioning, why she having a vote and stuff like that. And some others, I had the link, but it got deleted. But what are your thoughts on that little thing, or if you did see it?
So they were basically saying that why would she have a chance to vote?
The tweet said, I guess they questioned her vote because Anthony Davis, she didn't vote Anthony Davis for none of the All NBA teams.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these contracts and stuff like that, they kind of depend. We see that with Klay Thompson a couple of years ago. Like, he didn't get votes in any All NBA teams, and it kind of messed with his money.
Yeah.
Granted, Anthony Davis still made All NBA first team.
But she didn't vote at all.
She didn't vote at all for him. She said she forgot, but, I
don't believe that.
But.
Well, I don't know. It's tough because this is, it makes you question because the way that AD played. Like, how do you not know to pick him on the first team? I mean, what other four are you going to put there? Power forward to be exact, or whatever / power forward / center. So for me, it's more so of how do you not know who you're going to pick? So I found that very interesting. I think there's more to it that we don't know, and it'll come out as everything else does at some point. It'll come out, so we will figure out. But that is kind of odd. Because you're talking about somebody that is probably a top 5 player in the league right now. It's not on the team. That doesn't make any sense.
What they tweeted out, and when Doug Gottlieb said, I mean, he made a great point, but he's the wrong messenger. And if y'all ever checked out Doug Gottlieb's tweets, he can say some off the wall stuff at times. But, in this instance, he did have a point. Like, I'm not saying, should question her credentials and stuff like that, but if I get a chance to find that list for you, D-Log, I'll try to forward it to you, but it's an interesting point. Like, okay, you forget AD on the list. That's like, okay, you forgot about him. It's like, okay, that's kind of odd that this guy who plays for the most recognized team in the league, right next to the most recognizable player on the planet, and LeBron James, it's kind of odd that you forgot about that. And I'm pulling it up.
That's very odd.
Pulling it up right now. Now, D-Log, this is who she voted for the first team. She had Giannis, Kawhi Leonard, the Joker, LeBron, and James Harden. That's her first team, All NBA. Her second team was Jason Tatum, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Damian Lillard, and Luka Doncic.
And she don't have Anthony Davis.
Oh, third team, though. Chris Middleton, Pascal Siakam, Bam Adebayo, Chris Paul, and Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, that doesn't. Either way, out of all those players, you pick a Bam over AD.
On maybe like a 13 vote. Yeah, but Anthony Davis first team all the way this year.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't even make any sense. So I don't know. It's just some stuff like that. Like I said, it has to be something that we don't know that has not been talked about or that's going to come out later on. I mean, it may not come out within the next month, but it'll come out and we'll figure out. But to not vote for him, to be first team, like that raises a lot of eyebrows.
And then some other names who vote for all who vote for these all NBA teams. You know, you got like names like Michael Wilbon, Brian Windhorst, Royce Young. You know, the Boston Homer, Bill Simmons, Dennis Scott. But then like a lot of names I don't even recognize, to be honest with you. Candace Parker, she has a vote. I mean, she gets to vote on the all NBA teams. I guess. That's kind of, I don't say odd, but, you know, she's still an active player in WNBA, but whatever.
Yeah.
You know. So other names I've seen. Some names I really don't. I don't. I know them, but I was like kind of like back in my mind, like, okay, y'all get a vote. You know, the homie sources, Chris Broussard, he got one. You know, Kevin Harlan, he got a vote. I don't know who is Zach Harper. I'm just bouncing around names. Zach Harper, I don't know who that is. He writes for The Athletic. So, I don't know, man.
It's a newer company, too.
Yeah. Frank Isola, who nobody really likes, he got the vote.
I mean, but most of the time, I'm pretty sure, how do you not pick Anthony Davis?
I know.
Like, he was literally, like, probably, if we're not talking about Giannis winning MVP and LeBron, I'm pretty sure he was in the running for MVP as well. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. How do you not put him on your first team? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But it has to be something that we don't know. Got to be something.
It has to be something, Buzz. It's like, you know, the names I just listed off. I mean, I don't. It's like, damn. It's kind of hard to miss Anthony Davis.
No, it is hard.
I mean,
not kind of. It's very hard.
It's very hard. So, like you mentioned, we'll see how things shake out. Like I said, I agree with Doug Gottlieb is saying, but his past transgressions on Twitter and stuff like that kind of he made him the wrong messenger in it. So, you know, we'll see how things, you know, shake out and all that stuff. But to move on to the WNBA real quick, D-Lock, the playoffs has started, and for those that don't know, the WNBA, the very first few rounds, they have like single game eliminations. So if you're up against each other, if you lose, boom, you're gone. You're done. And then these playoffs get started on Tuesday. You had the Sun beating the Sky 94-81. I'll talk about the Sun here in a second. Then you had the Mercury barely beating out the Mystics 85-84 on Tuesday. Then on that Thursday, on the 17th, the Sun once again winning double digits against the heavily favored Sparks. Did the Leaks beating the disappointing Mercury as well. And D-Log, let me tell you this. Besides, like, you know, what Tyrion brought up about the Bucks and Clippers, the Mercury of life never disappointed for me in this whole bubble situation. I figure like Diggy Smith coming in, Taurasi's up there in age, maybe she'll take over her and then down the line. But, her and Brittany Griner will do some things, but it's like, damn, y'all kind of looking shaky there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big disappointment. Like, you would expect more from them, to be honest.
And for them to just get put out like that is just like amazing. I'm like, God, y'all disappointed me. And then you get fast forward to today, the Aces, who I said, potentially win the championship over the Storm. Well, I take it back. Well, the Storm didn't play today because the game was postponed. But you had the Sun today on his hot streak, beating the Aces by double digits. Mind you, a Sun team in this bubble, D-Lock, that, I mean, granted they were below 500, but they made the playoffs. Now you beat two strong teams. Now you beat another strong team. Could they make a run at the championship, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, right now you're having a scenario where this is about chemistry and putting good games together. So once you start to do both of those things, you're in a solid position. That builds the confidence.
I definitely agree there. And,
so the run for the title is there.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You got it.
My thing is, for them, if you could find a way to beat the Aces and then if the Lynx can beat the Storm, I think you got a very favorable matchup in your mind. Because if you go against Storm, if you have to beat the Aces and go against Storm, I don't think you got the talent-wise to beat them and overcome that, that type of play. But, credit to the Suns, being below 500 by the end of the season, but beating two strong teams and beating another strong team in game one, you could do some things, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple things that you could do, but it's just, right now, that chemistry is important. And once you get that chemistry to cook, everything can just happen the way that you want. So for me, I like how they're moving. It's just now once you start to put everything together, we've seen it multiple times. It goes back to the WNBA. I mean, I'm sorry, not back to WNBA, but into the NBA with the Nuggets. The Nuggets won one game, then they won the next game, then they won the next game. So once you start to win and get that confidence, things start to flow very well.
I definitely agree with you there. And to kind of finish things off, ladies and gentlemen, on tonight's show, the Lakers are still up by 11 on the Nuggets going in the third quarter right now. LeBron James, 8 for 11, shooting 20 points right so far. Anthony Davis, 9 points for the Lakers. Alex Caruso, 9 off the bench for the Lakers. For the Nuggets, Jokic, 3 for 10 for shooting, 14 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. Jamal Murray, 12 points so far. Michael Porter Jr., 10 points off the bench. So we'll see. If the Nuggets can get that fight in them and kind of come back. Because if you're the Nuggets, D-Lock, you don't want to go down 3-0, 3-1 again. You can't do that again.
Well, nah, you can't. But the thing is, this team, you said that Jokic is what, 3 for 10, right?
Yep.
So this is Dwight Howard was signed to the Lakers for this for a big man like this. This is not the Dwight Howard of old, of course, but he still can be a defensive player and make a defensive impact, him and Anthony Davis. So what you're seeing the big man struggle against the Lakers because they have the big man for it. This is the reason why the Clippers were probably they were in a bad matchup playing against either the Lakers or the Clippers because they have the big man for this. So they don't want to go down. I mean, obviously, like I said, we will see what happens. I don't think that they do go down 3 games. They go down 3-1 and they come back like they did the Clippers. Honestly, I think if they are down 3-1, LeBron is going to close it out. I probably would bet some money on that, but we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a long series, but to go up 2-0 quickly, you remember now, the past 2 series before this for the Lakers, they lost the first game.
Mm-hmm.
So they haven't lost the first game in this series. So we could be seeing a sweep, not necessarily a gentleman's sweep.
And Terry is bringing up in the chat, D-Lock, the Lakers need to go for the throat. I definitely agree. It's like you don't want this type of team, the way they play in the playoffs, to get any confidence in trying to overcome you in any type of way.
Yeah, you don't. But they have one of the GOATs, the greatest of all time players on the team, the Lakers. So going for the throat, I think, is something that's already in his mentality. And even what makes it worse for the Nuggets is the fact that he didn't win MVP. So we're going to see somebody that's going to specifically try to let you know that he is one of the greatest players of all time. I remember seeing him game 6 with the Heat going against the Celtics, not speak to anybody, grab every board, and go like maybe 24 out of 20, maybe, I mean, he probably was like 15 out of 16 and had like 45 points, like 12 rebounds, like 5 assists or something like that. So that was somebody on a mission. And I'm pretty sure he has the same mindset now, even though he's a little older. He's going to try to make sure to let the Nuggets and the rest of the league know that he is the king.
And before we sign out, the Lakers are up 70-54 right now. So, LeBron, he's on that mission tonight.
Yep.
So
definitely is.
The MVP voting and his son trending on Twitter for a damn day.
Yeah.
I don't know what was worse. Well, I don't know what was worse. Him trending or Ty Lawson trending.
Dude. They find a way. They find a way. They just, get up on there. Just, hey, find a way to start trending with that name that you have. They're going to find a way to put you on there. But that was trying to be some kind of distraction. Maybe that makes Bron go back to being dark 30. Because I'm pretty sure if he was dark 30, he probably would not have seen that. But it's all motivation to this point for him. Do you think it's too early to say get the broom out?
I think the Nuggets will sneak one in. What game would that be? I can't say. The way tonight's going, I don't think so. And I think, let's see, the Nuggets took a timeout. So after, Danny Green 3-pointer. So we'll see. But I think the Lakers.
I say get the broom out.
But I think the Lakers know. They saw what happened to the Clippers. They saw what happened to the Jazz. I don't think they want that, especially for LeBron's sake. He don't want that on his head. That he can't close out a series, especially against the Nuggets. Because the people make fun of him from the moon and back. Like they want, and people like Skip Bayless be chomping at the bit to go at him.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's going to be very interesting, but go ahead and get the broom and the dustpan out, man. After hearing that, and if you guys have not heard, make sure you go type in LeBron's post-conference about the MVP. Make sure you guys look that up. For sure you can find it on Twitter or somewhere. Once you hear that, you'll know that he's coming.
And he's going to come all right. And hopefully, for the Lakers that, he'll come straight to the finals and, get this series at the way. And hopefully the Heat Celtics go a long way. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been our show tonight. Thank you for tuning in here on IE Sports Radio. We'll be back next week, with more conference finals talk. Hopefully, we'll hear some news after these coaching vacancies get filled in Chicago, New Orleans, and then maybe, the future of Doc Rivers. Maybe that gets, some breaking news happen. But D-Lock, how can people find you in social media?
Guys, definitely go find me at Black-813. I do have a Twitter, Black-813, Instagram, Black-813. Black, the word dash, not the actual dash, DASH 813. I will get back to posting my videos. My Bucks did win, so I will be posting the video tomorrow. Let you guys know how everything's going. And we'll talk about what's going on with the Heat too as well. I really do like them to take this series away from the Celtics, so I kind of can see a Lakers and Heat NBA Finals, which would be very interesting with Pat Riley being there. So let them know what they can find with the Crooks Process, man.
You can follow me in the Crooks Process at Facebook and Instagram, and just type in the Crooks Process. You'll see the CP logo there. You also find me on Twitter at Spawn4288, so please do follow me there. Also, please do follow us on the Fast Break page as well. That's Fast Break ISR. Please do follow us there. Follow along. Tweet with us during these games, especially in the conference finals. And eventually here in the finals here within the next week. Mm-hmm. But we'll be back next week, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all sports. Y'all have a good night. We'll check y'all next week.
You know it. All right. Out.